Hello and welcome to the tutorial for Poppy the Fairy Pig. We're going to begin by crocheting the head/body, so grab your light pink yarn and your hook and let's get started. The first round has already been made for you, so gently pull it out from the center and let's take a closer look at everything. Arrange it so that this loop is on the right hand side. This is where we're going to insert our hook. We want to tighten it so it fits nicely around our hook, not too loose, not too tight. If you're confused about how to hold your yarn, there are many ways to hold it to help you keep a nice tension. You can wrap it around your pointer finger a couple times, or my favorite way is to bring it up between my pointer and middle fingers, then gently hold the loose yarn against my palm with my ring and pinky fingers. The main thing is that you feel comfortable, so don't overthink it too much. Now let's look at this first round and figure out what everything is. The first round is made out of 6 single crochets, which we'll call stitches, and the top of them are these little V's. Starting from where our hook is, that's 6, 5, 4, and the stitch marker is the third. This is the second, and this is the first single crochet. So our first round is basically done. To finish every round, we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch of the round and make a slip stitch. So remove the stitch marker from the first one. Then insert your hook under both of these loops of the stitch. And when you're ready, you're going to yarn over, which means to place the yarn on top of the hook, then pull it back through the stitch. And you should now have 2 loops on your hook. To finish making the slip stitch, all you need to do is pull the first loop through the second loop on your hook. And that's our slip stitch done. Now we're going to chain 1 to get ready for the next round. To make a chain, you need to yarn over and then pull it through the loop on your hook. And that's it. And now we're ready to begin round 2. For round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch around. Increasing means making 2 single crochets in the same stitch. We're going to make the first increase in the stitch we just made a slip stitch into. So insert your hook into the same spot, then yarn over and pull it back through the stitch. You should now have 2 loops on your hook. To finish the single crochet, yarn over again and pull it through both loops on your hook. That's our first single crochet. To help you keep track of the beginning, grab your stitch marker and insert it into the single crochet that we just made. Just insert it under both loops of the little V. And now we need to make 1 more single crochet in the same stitch. So insert your hook, yarn over, and pull the loop back through the stitch, yarn over, and pull through both loops. And now we've made the first increase. We're going to repeat that 5 more times now, making an increase into every stitch. So when you're ready, remove the stitch marker from the next one and make 2 single crochets in it. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over, and pull through both loops. And now make another single crochet in this stitch. A little tip is to let your hook do all of the work for you. When you've made your single crochet, avoid pulling or tugging the working yarn. This is going to make the stitch really tight and it'll be harder to insert your hook into it later. Just let the hook do all of the work for you. Continue making an increase in every stitch and I'll meet you at the end. I'm going to speed this up, but you can adjust the speed in the settings below to slow it down if you need to. I just finished making my last increase. You should have made 12 single crochets. So quickly count and make sure that you didn't miss any or make any extra. If you have extra, then you may have worked into the slip stitch, which we don't want to do. We're always going to ignore the slip stitch in chain 1. We'll only be working into the single crochets. Once you're done, we're going to finish the round with a slip stitch in chain 1. So remove the stitch marker from the first single crochet, then insert your hook into that stitch and make a slip stitch. Yarn over and pull it through. Then pull it through the loop on your hook. And now chain 1, yarn over and pull it through the loop on your hook. Great job, everyone. Now it's time for round 3. For this round, we're going to single crochet in the first one, increase in the next, then single crochet, then increase, repeated over and over until we reach the end. So let's go ahead and insert our hook into the first stitch where we work the slip stitch and make a single crochet. Don't forget to place your stitch marker in there so we don't lose track of the beginning. And now we're going to increase in the next stitch. So make the first single crochet, and then insert your hook in there again and make the second single crochet. Now make one single crochet in the next stitch, and again increase in the next. I'm going to speed it up now, but feel free to slow it down if you need to, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. So I'm working into the final stitch now, which is going to be an increase. And as always, we're going to ignore the slip stitch and chain one. Once you're done, do a quick little count of your round to make sure you have 18 single crochets. And we're going to remove the stitch marker from the first one and make a slip stitch in it. And then chain one to get ready for the next round. Round 4. For this round, we're going to make one single crochet in the first and second stitches, and then an increase. Then we'll repeat that 5 more times. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, over and over again. So let's make our first single crochet. And don't forget to pop the stitch marker in there. And now we're going to make one single crochet in the next stitch. And now we're going to increase in the next stitch. And now we're going to do one single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. Now we'll do another increase. Now continue like that until you reach the end of the round, where you'll end with an increase in the very last stitch. But I'm going to speed this up now, and I'll meet you at the end. So I just made my final increase. You should have made 24 stitches in this round. And as always, I'm going to remove the stitch marker, slip stitch to the first, then chain 1. Now it's time for round 5. This is a super easy round. All we're going to do is single crochet, single crochet, single crochet all the way around. Make one single crochet in every stitch. I'll do a few with you, and then I'll speed it up and meet you at the end. And I forgot my stitch marker, but don't forget yours. Awesome, so you should still have 24 single crochets. And what do we do at the end of every round? Slip stitch and chain one. Round 6. This time we're going to single crochet, single crochet, single crochet, increase. So let's make our first 3 single crochets. Don't forget your stitch marker. Now we need to make 2 more single crochets. Great job, and now increase in the next. Perfect, and now I'm going to speed this up, but do that 5 more times and I'll meet you at the end. There we go. You should now have 30 stitches and finish with a slip stitch and chain 1. Now for rounds 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13, so 7 rounds total, all we're going to do is work 1 single crochet into every stitch around. Keep making sure that you're ignoring the slip stitch at the end though, but super duper easy. I'll do a little check-in after each round so you can see how it looks. Here's round 7. Here's round 8. Here's round 9. Round 10. Round 11. Round 12. And round 13. Count and make sure that you still have 30 stitches, and then we'll start the next round. Now for round 14, we're going to work a single crochet in each of the first 3 stitches, and then we're going to do a decrease in the next, which means we're going to turn 2 stitches into 1. So let's make our first 3 single crochets, and then we'll learn how to decrease. For the decrease, instead of inserting our hook under both loops, we're going to insert it under only the front loop, the loop that's closer to you. And then we're going to insert our hook into the front loop of the next stitch. Just like that. Now you can yarn over and pull it back through both of the loops, and then just finish the single crochet as normal. Yarn over again and pull through both loops on your hook. Now make 1 single crochet in the next 3 stitches. And if you're confused about which one is the next stitch after the decrease, it's the one that's completely untouched and you can see both loops of it very clearly. And now it's time to do another decrease. Insert your hook under the front loop of the first one, then insert your hook under the front loop of the next one. And finish as normal. Yarn over and pull it through. Yarn over and pull through both loops. I'm going to speed it up now, but go ahead and repeat this 4 more times and then I'll meet you at the end. Great job, everyone. The last stitch you made should have been a decrease before slip stitching to the first and chaining 1. And you should have 24 stitches now. So go ahead and do a quick count just to make sure. Great job, guys. Now we're going to insert the eyes. So take your stitch marker and place it in the loop on your hook. We're doing this so that our project doesn't accidentally unravel. You should have 2 eyes and 2 backings for them. So first we want to position the head so that this seam, all these little dashes from our slip stitches, is positioned in the middle in the back. We're going to use this to help center the eyes. Once you have that lined up, grab one of your eyes and we need to find rounds 6 and 7. So start at the circle at the top. That's row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. We're going to insert our eyes between these rows. Place the first one a little off to the side, and then we want to have them spaced out about 5 stitches apart. So insert your first eye right between the rows and right between the stitches, and then grab your second eye and count 5 stitches. You want to make sure that there are 5 stitches clearly visible and adjust as necessary. And now just give it a look over, look from all angles, and make sure that they're centered properly. And once you're happy with them, take one of the backings and place it on the back. You should feel it kind of click into place. And once you're done, you can place the backing on the other eye. And now you can remove the stitch marker from this loop and reinsert your hook in it. And now we're on round 15. For this round, we're going to single crochet in the first 2 stitches, and then we're going to make a decrease. And we'll do that 6 times until we reach the end. So I'll do the first ones with you. So make your single crochet in the first stitch, and then a single crochet in the next one. And now we're going to decrease. Perfect. Repeat that 5 more times, and then I'll meet you at the end. Awesome. The last stitch you made should have been a decrease before slip stitching and chaining 1, and you should now have 18 stitches. And we're so close now. Great job, everyone. But before we move on, we need to stuff the body. So place your stitch marker in the loop on your hook, and we'll start stuffing. Start by placing it at the bottom, and then try and line the walls before placing the stuffing in the middle. Check it out from all angles to see if there are any spots that look deflated, and stuff accordingly. You also don't want to put too much stuffing in it because it can cause your stitches to stretch out and show the inside. And this is also the only part that requires stuffing, so feel free to use all of it if you need to. Once you're happy with it, do a little squeeze test just to make sure it keeps its shape, and then we'll do the last rounds. Let's start round 16. For this round, we'll single crochet in the first stitch, then do a decrease. Single crochet, decrease, all the way around. So let's make the first single crochet. And now let's do a decrease. Then a single crochet, and another decrease. Continue repeating that until you reach the end. Your last stitch will be a decrease, and you should have 12 stitches at the end. Here it is, great job, and let's finish with the slip stitch and chain 1. Round 17, our last round. To finish the head, all we're gonna do is decrease, decrease, decrease all the way around. So insert your hook into the front loop of the first stitch. It might be a little bit hard to do, so try and wiggle or shimmy your hook in. You can also use your nail if you need to. And then insert your hook under the front loop of the next stitch. Yarn over and pull it back through. Yarn over and pull through both loops. Place your stitch marker in there and then continue by making 5 more decreases. I'll speed it up and I'll meet you at the end to finish it up. Great job. You should now have 6 stitches, and when you're done, finish with a slip stitch and chain 1 as always, and then we're going to fasten off. So grab your scissors and we're going to cut the yarn, and we want to leave a nice long tail that we're going to use to close up this little hole. And now use your hook to pull the yarn up and through the chain 1, and then give the yarn a little tug to tighten and secure the knot. Now grab your tapestry needle and thread the end of the yarn through it. I like to put the end next to the hole and use my finger to kind of rub it through. To close the hole, we're going to insert our needle into the front loop of all 6 stitches. So find the first stitch. You might have to kind of shimmy the knot to the side to find it. Then insert it under the front loop only, going from the outside to the inside or away from you. And that's our first one done. Now insert your needle under the front loop of the next one. That's the second one done. And keep going through all 6. There's 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now's the fun part. Pull the yarn, and like magic, the hole is going to tighten and close up. Great job, everyone. I love that. It's so satisfying. And now we're going to hide the yarn inside the body. So insert your needle down into a nearby stitch, and then bring it out through a random stitch on the other side of the body. We're going to repeat that a few times. The yarn's going to tangle up inside the stuffing and prevent the work from coming undone. So insert your needle back into the stitch it just came out of, and bring it out through another random spot. Do that a couple more times. And then you can trim the excess and use your needle to pull it back in the body and hide it. Or you can use your needle to kind of shove it back in there. And that's it. Fantastic job, everyone. This is a great stopping point to take a break, and in the next part, we'll make all of the accessories. We're going to begin by making the arms, so keep your pink yarn out and let's get started. We need to start by making a magic ring. I'm going to show you my favorite way to make one, but if you're an advanced crocheter, then feel free to make it the traditional way. Take the yarn with your right hand, and you want to bring it up between your pointer and middle fingers of your left hand. And then use your ring and pinky fingers to hold the working yarn against your palm. Now pinch the tail of the yarn with your middle finger and thumb. Now take the tail and make a loop that goes under the point that you're pinching and re-pinch it. Just like that. And this is our magic ring. Now take your hook and insert it into the ring with your hook facing down. Grab the yarn and bring it through the ring, then twist the hook towards you and up and chain 1. Great job. Now we want to make 4 single crochets into the ring. Don't forget to put the stitch marker on the first one. Once you've made the 4, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, we're going to slip stitch and chain 1, but these stitches are pretty far apart. So once you've inserted your hook into the first stitch, pull the yarn nice and tight to bring them closer together. And then finish the slip stitch as normal and chain 1. Round 2, we're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. Super easy. I'll speed up through this and meet you for the next round. At the end, you should have made 6 stitches. Round 3. All we're going to do is make 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So make 6 single crochets, then slip stitch to the first and chain 1, and I'll meet you to fasten off. Great job, everyone. Now we're going to cut the yarn, leaving a long tail that we'll use to sew the hand to the body later. Then use the hook to pull the yarn up and through the chain 1. Then tug the yarn to secure the knot. Repeat all of that and make 1 more hand before moving on. We're going to keep it going with the pink and make the ears now. This is basically the same as the arms, just 1 less round. We need to begin by making a magic ring again. Bring your tail up through your pointer and middle. Hold the working yarn against your palm. Pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb. Then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and re-pinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring, twisting towards you and up, and chain 1. Now we want to make 4 single crochets into the ring. Once you've made the 4, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, we're going to slip stitch and chain 1, but these stitches are pretty far apart. So once you've inserted your hook into the first stitch, pull the yarn nice and tight to bring them closer together. And then finish the slip stitch as normal and chain 1. Round 2, we're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. Super easy. I'll speed up through this. At the end, you should have made 6 stitches. Great job, everyone! You should now have 6 stitches, then you can slip stitch to the first and chain 1. Now we'll cut the yarn, leaving a long tail for sewing later. Pull it through the chain 1 and tug the yarn to secure the knot. Make sure the ear is popped out with the magic ring on the outside in the back. Repeat all of that and make one more ear before moving on. We're going to make the snout now, so grab your hot pink yarn and we'll get started. To begin, we need to make a slip knot, so take the end of the yarn in your right hand, then wrap it around the pointer finger of your left hand and make a little loop. Slide the loop off your finger and take the tail and bring it to the back like it's splitting the loop in half. Bring the tail through the loop while holding the tail and working yarn until it tightens, and you have your slip knot. Now you can insert the hook and gently tighten it until it fits comfortably around your hook without being too tight. Once you're ready, we need to chain 3. We're going to work on both sides of the chain, so grab a stitch marker and place it in the front loop of the second chain, or the loop that's closer to you. Once you've done that, we're going to start by making 1 single crochet in the second chain in the back loop. And don't forget your stitch marker. Now we're going to make a triple increase using this last chain. We'll make 2 single crochets in this loop and 1 in this loop. So there's my first one. Now reinsert your hook in this loop, move this yarn end out of the way, and finish making the second one. Perfect. Now move these out of the way if you need to, and find this other loop and make the third single crochet. Great job, everyone! Now we're going to make 1 single crochet in this next loop, and we'll increase in the last one. So make your 1 single crochet. Perfect, and now increase in the very last loop. You should now have 6 stitches, and when you're done, as always, finish with the slip stitch and chain 1, then we'll cut the yarn. We want to cut it leaving a long tail that we'll use to sew the nose onto the body. Pull it up and through the chain 1, then tug the yarn to secure the knot. You can set this to the side now, and we'll start making the next part. We're going to make the leafy crown now, so grab your green yarn and let's get started. To begin, we need to make a slip knot, so take the end of the yarn in your right hand, then wrap it around the pointer finger of your left hand and make a little loop. Slide the loop off your finger and take the tail and bring it to the back like it's splitting the loop in half. Bring the tail through the loop while holding the tail and working yarn until it tightens, and you have your slip knot. Now you can insert the hook and gently tighten it until it fits comfortably around your hook without being too tight. Then we're going to chain 13. So we're going to skip the first chain and then slip stitch, slip stitch, slip stitch. So go ahead and make 3 slip stitches. Great job! Now we'll make the first leaf. We're going to chain 2 and then slip stitch back into this chain. Now we're going to slip stitch in the next chain. Perfect. Then slip stitch in the next chain. Now chain 2 again and slip stitch back into this chain. Then we're going to make one slip stitch in each of the next 2 chains. And we're going to make another leaf. So chain 2 and slip stitch back into this chain. Now slip stitch in each of the next 2 chains. And we'll make the last leaf now. Chain 2 and slip stitch back into this chain. Now finish by making one slip stitch in each of the last 3 chains. When you're finished, you can chain 1 and then we'll cut the yarn. Cut it leaving a long tail that we'll use to sew this onto the head later. Pull it up and through the chain 1, then tug the yarn to secure the knot. Set this aside and we'll get started on the last pieces. We're going to make the adorable wings now, so grab your off-white yarn and we'll get started. To begin, we need to make a slip knot, so take the end of the yarn in your right hand, then wrap it around the pointer finger of your left hand and make a little loop. Slide the loop off your finger and take the tail and bring it to the back like it's splitting the loop in half. Bring the tail through the loop while holding the tail and working yarn until it tightens and you have your slip knot. And then when you're ready, chain 4. We're going to go slowly stitch by stitch through this. Skip the first chain and make a single crochet in the second chain. Perfect, and now we're going to chain 5. There we go. Now we'll skip the first chain and make one single crochet in each of the 4 remaining chains. And there's my 4th single crochet. Great job, everyone. Now in the original chain we made, we're going to make one single crochet in the next chain. Awesome job. Now we're going to chain 4. And we'll do the same thing. Skip the first one and make one single crochet in the rest. Alrighty, so there's my 3 single crochets. And now we'll finish this round by making a single crochet in the very last chain of our original chain. Here's how it should be looking right now. We're going to work into all of these stitches for row 2, so chain 1 and turn your work. Start by making a slip stitch in the very first stitch. Perfect. Now we'll single crochet, single crochet. Great job. Increase. There's my first increase. Now we'll be working into these solo loops on the side, so make your second increase in this first loop. Great job. Now we're going to single crochet, single crochet. Now we're going to skip this next loop and make a slip stitch into the next stitch. So insert under both loops and make a slip stitch. Perfect, and now make one single crochet in the next stitch. We're going to make a half double crochet in the next stitch, so begin by yarning over, then insert your hook, yarn over and pull it through. You should now have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over again and pull through all 3. Great job, everyone! Now in each of the next 2 stitches, we're going to make a double crochet increase, so 2 double crochets in each stitch. To make a double crochet, begin by yarning over, then insert your hook, yarn over and pull through. You should have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, then yarn over again and pull through the last 2 loops. Now we need to make another one, so yarn over first, then reinsert your hook in this stitch, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over again and pull through 2. Great job, everyone! Now make another double crochet increase in the next stitch. Perfect job, everyone! Now we're going to be working into these solo loops on this side. Make a half double crochet in the first loop, so yarn over first, then insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, then yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops. Now make 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 loops. And finish with a slip stitch in each of the last 2 loops. Great job, everyone! Finish this by chaining 1, then cut the yarn, leaving a long tail that we'll use to sew this onto the body later. Pull it up and through the chain 1, then tug the yarn to secure the knot. It's almost too cute. Repeat all of that and make 1 more wing before moving on. We're going to make the wand now, and we'll start by making the star. So grab your yellow yarn and let's get started. To begin, we need to make a slip knot. So take the end of the yarn in your right hand, then wrap it around the pointer finger of your left hand and make a little loop. Slide the loop off your finger and take the tail and bring it to the back like it's splitting the loop in half. Bring the tail through the loop while holding the tail and working yarn until it tightens, and you have your slip knot. And now we need to chain 3. All right, so we're going to skip these first 2 chains and make a slip stitch into the very first chain. This is the first point of the star, and we're going to be slip stitching back into this chain for all of them. So grab a stitch marker and place it in the bottom loop of this chain. Now you're going to chain 2 and slip stitch to the first one 4 more times. The last 2 will be slip stitched to the loop with the stitch marker in it. Once you've made all 5 points of the star, finish by chaining 1 and pulling the yarn nice and tight. Pull the yarn coming from the middle nice and tight as well. Then we'll cut the yarn, leaving a long tail. Pull it through, then give it a tug to secure the knot. And that's it. Such a cute little star. Set this aside and we'll finish making the wand. The stick is going to be super easy to make. Grab your brown yarn, and we need to begin by making a slip knot. So take the end of the yarn in your right hand, then wrap it around the pointer finger of your left hand and make a little loop. Slide the loop off your finger and take the tail and bring it to the back like it's splitting the loop in half. Bring the tail through the loop while holding the tail and working yarn until it tightens, and you have your slip knot. And now we need to chain 7. Perfect. So we're going to skip the first chain and make a slip stitch in the remaining chains. So make 6 slip stitches. And that's it. Great job, everyone. Chain 1, and then cut the yarn, leaving a long tail that we'll use for sewing later. Pull it up and through, then tug the yarn to secure the knot. And now is a great time to pause and rest your hands, and in the next part, we'll finish making Poppi and sew everything together. We're going to begin by sewing the nose on. Thread the end that's coming from the back of the nose, and we'll use that to get it positioned onto the face. We want the nose to be positioned between the eyes between rounds 7 and 8. So insert your needle into the body between rounds 7 and 8 and bring it out in a random spot on the top of the head. Make sure the top of the nose is in line with the row where the eyes are and that it's centered nicely between them. Then you can thread your other yarn end and we'll start sewing. Insert into the body right where the nose touches, bringing it out on the other side of the stitch, and pull it through nice and tight. Now we're going to insert the needle upwards through the very first stitch of the nose, right beside the knot. Then insert the needle downwards through the next stitch of the nose. Now insert back into the body in the space where the yarn came out previously, and bring it through on the other side of the stitch. Now we'll insert upwards through the stitch of the nose that we came down through before, and then go back down through the next stitch of the nose. Now back to the body, insert in the space we came out of before, and bring it out on the other side of the stitch. And we want to follow the curve of the nose, so go upwards and to the side, and pull it all the way through. Continue sewing it just like that all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end to finish it up. So right now I'm inserting up through the last stitch of the nose, then we'll skip the slip stitch and chain 1 and insert down through the very first stitch of the nose. Now to finish, insert your needle underneath the nose into the body and bring it out in the same space as the other end. Now you can double knot the ends together, trim the excess, and hide them away inside the body. So cute! Great job, everyone! Grab your ears and we'll sew them on next. Start by threading the yarn end from fastening off. Alright, so we want the ears to be on the sides of the head between rounds 3 and 4. So we're going to insert the needle between rounds 3 and 4, right on the side of the head, bringing it out in the back of the head. Make sure you like it and make any adjustments now. Once you're happy, thread your magic ring end, and we're going to insert the needle through the space right behind where we inserted the first end, bringing it out in the same space as the other end. Check one more time that you like how it looks, then you can double knot the ends, trim the excess, and hide them away inside the body. Repeat that and attach your second ear the exact same way, and then we'll move on to the next piece. We're going to sew the leaf crown on right in front of the ears. So get it in position, then thread whichever end is shorter. Insert the needle right below the ear, one row down, and bring it out in a random spot on the back of the head. Now thread the other end, and insert it into the same space as the other one, but bring it out in the space where the middle of the crown will be, and we'll sew down that point. Position the crown and find the middle point of it, then insert your needle going away from you through that loop of the crown, going into the body in the same space it's coming out, bringing it out one row below the second ear. Insert your needle through the very last loop that's on the side of the crown, going away from you. Then insert it back into the body and bring it out in the back of the head. Bring it out in the same space as the other end if you can. Otherwise, thread your needle with that end and bring it over to where this one is. Make sure you're happy with how it looks, then you can knot the ends, trim them, and hide them away inside the body. Grab your arms and we'll sew them on next. Start by adjusting the arm until the end from fastening off is on the side. Then thread your magic ring end and we'll figure out where this goes. We want to insert the needle between rounds 9 and 10, or 3 rows below the eye, on the front of the body but off to the side. We want it to be almost in line with the outer edge of the ear. Insert your needle and bring it out in a random spot behind it. Make sure you like it, and then thread your other end and we'll sew it on. We're going to sew this the same way that we attached the nose. Once you're ready, insert the needle into the body, coming out on the other side of the stitch, following the curve of the arm. So I'm going upwards. Then insert your needle upwards through the first stitch of the arm, and back down through the next. Continue sewing like that all the way around. Insert back into the body in the space we came out previously, coming out on the other side of the stitch. Then back up through the stitch of the arm that we came down through previously, and back down through the next stitch of the arm. Keep going and I'll meet you at the end to finish it up. So I'm going down through the very last stitch of the arm now, and to finish, I'm going to insert the needle down into a nearby space and bring it out where my other end is. Then you can knot it, trim it, and hide it away. So cute. Great job, everyone. Sew the second arm on the same way before moving on to the next step. We're going to sew on the wings now. This is how you want to have them positioned. One wing will be backwards, but you can adjust it so it creates that same curve as the other one. Now thread the smaller end that's coming from the middle, and we'll use that to figure out where they go. We want to sew them onto the back between rounds 7 and 11. Insert your needle between rounds 8 and 9, bringing it out in a random spot below. Make sure that the wing is over rounds 7 to 11 and that you like how it looks. I'm going to move it over to the side. Way cuter. Right now it's lined up with the edge of the leaf crown. Once you're happy with it, then you can thread your other end and we'll start sewing. Insert your needle going downwards between rounds 7 and 8, right where the wing is, and bring it out on the other side of the stitch. Then insert your needle away from you through the loop at the top of the wing. Then insert back into the body in the space we came out of previously and bring it through on the other side of the stitch. Perfect. Now insert away from you through the middle of the wing. Then back into the body, coming out on the other side of the stitch. And now back to the wing, going through a space right above the bottom of it. Then back to the body, coming out on the other side of the stitch. And one last time, insert your needle through the very bottom of the wing. So cute! To finish, insert your needle back into the body in the space where the yarn's coming out, and bring it out in the same space as the other end. Then you can double knot the ends, trim them, and hide them inside the body. Sew your second wing on the exact same way, and then we'll sew the last thing. Now we'll sew the star to the stick and make the wand. Start by threading the end that's at the bottom of the star. Once you're ready, insert your needle under the first slip stitch of the stick, and it should be coming out right in the middle. Pull it all the way through nice and tight. Insert your needle into the back of the star through this one loop that's right in the middle. Pull that through nice and tight. Now take your brown yarn ends and double knot those together. Now we want to bring this top yellow end down to where the other one is. Thread it, and then insert your needle through the stitches, these little V's, and bring it out next to the other end. Now we're going to take both yellow ends and both brown ends and knot it together. Perfect. Now thread whichever brown end is longer, and we want to bring it down the stick so that we can attach it to the hand. Skip a couple stitches and insert the needle going through one of these loops that are going up and down. Figure out which hand you want to have holding the wand, then figure out which stitches of the hand the stick will touch. Insert your needle downward through a couple of those stitches, pulling it out nice and tight. Make sure you like how it looks, then insert your needle through an up and down loop on the stick that the yarn's coming out next to. Then insert it back up through the stitches on the hand. Now we're going to hide the yellow ends inside the body. Insert your needle through the same loop on the stick the brown yarn's going through. Then pull one of the yellow ends through it. Then go into the hand, into the body, coming out in a random spot nearby. And do the same thing with the other yellow end. Now you can knot them together and we'll hide it later. Thread your other unused brown end and bring it through that same loop on the stick. Tie your brown ends together one time. Then insert through the hand into the body and bring both ends out in a random spot. Knot those ends together. Now trim the excess of both, and then hide both away inside the body. So adorable. Great job, everyone. Grab your red and pink yarn and we'll embroider a couple details onto the face. We're going to start with the red yarn. Thread your needle and we'll embroider the lines of the nose. Insert your needle up through the bottom of the body, bringing it out at the bottom of the nose. We're going to make 2 simple up and down lines on the nose. Make sure you pull through enough yarn, leaving a little bit sticking out. Once you're ready, insert your needle straight above this point, inserting into the body and coming out in a random spot above. Make sure you like how that looks. Then insert back into the space, coming out at the top of the nose where you want the second line to be. Insert directly below at the bottom of the nose, bringing it out in the same space as the rest of the yarn. Then finish as normal. Knot them together, trim the excess, and hide it away inside the body. So cute. Great job, everyone. Now thread the hot pink yarn and we'll embroider the blush. We're just going to make a small simple line underneath each eye. Insert your needle from the top of the head, bringing it out right below one of the eyes. Make sure you pull through enough yarn. Then insert down on the other side of this stitch, coming out below the other eye. Make sure that this blush line is staying flat and that the yarn isn't twisted up. Then make the second blush line the same way. Insert down on the other side of this stitch, coming out in the same space as the rest of the yarn. Make sure you're happy with how they look. I'm going to adjust the first line I made and move it a little bit to the side. Once you're happy, then you can knot the ends together, trim the excess, and hide it away inside the body. And Poppi the Fairy Pig is officially finished. Thanks so much for joining me to make this. I hope you love yours as much as I love mine, and I'll see you next time. Bye!